Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all again for tuning in to Circle Up to get together. Today, we have the pleasure of having my nephew, yours truly, Chris Hurd, with us. What's up, Chris?
How you doing? How you doing, guys?
And then once again, we were able to bring back the one and only. What you want to be called, Ziggy or Zachariah? Sometimes he be like Zachariah. So if y'all see him on the street, be like, "What's up, Zachariah?" Yes, but as y'all heard, today we are talking about push.
Yes.
Push is so important. We are here today to just shed some light on how to be able to dig deep within self and find your push. We are here, as you heard, to find that place where we're no longer waiting and depending on others to pull us through, but that we are able to dig inside of self and push through. I chose Chris because he's actually a MMA fighter, for a professional MMA fighter, for those of you who don't know. And so in his career on this journey, he has had to come across plenty of times where he had to dig deep and find his push. So there's some really, really good highlights I'm sure he has to share with you all. And then for those of you who don't know, that my husband is a tumbling director. Oh, I've seen him coach many people through so many different obstacles in their life, where not only in the tumbling, but even in life goals where they've had to he's had to push them through a place to reach their finish line without actually what are you doing? See, this is why you can't allow too many people in your studio at one time. Don't be touching on stuff in here, sir. But anyway, he's had to coach people to get to their finish line without actually pulling them to that place. So with no longer ado, let's dive right in. So Chris, can you just enlighten us a little bit on what it's like in the MMA field?
I mean, like you said, it's a push. It's a push, and diving right in on the subject. In MMA, especially, your push doesn't really start until the time starts to get hard. Am I close enough to this?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, because I see this thing. So.
Oh no, it's fine.
But yeah, your push doesn't really start until times start to get hard, and until it's time to really dig deep to push. Other than that, you're just working out. You're just kind of moving and going with the flow. But
and what does that look like? Like you said, it doesn't start until you pretty much get going, because sometimes I just see it looks like you see people on the TV screen so many times just kind of like, I guess they call it shadow boxing, maybe. They're just kind of like hitting around and stuff, and then you see them get out there in the ring, and I mean, I'm sure there's so much work that went behind the scene, but it almost looks like to a person with blind eyes in the field, looks like they didn't have to do too much to get into that. People look like they were born with this thing.
Right. I mean, and some people are, but it definitely takes a push to get to the point to where you can actually get in there and fight. But it looks like you said, you see people shadow boxing, and you have your drills, and you have your the little stuff that you do to keep yourself sharp, and that's a different type of training. But your push, when you're in a training camp, and when it's time for you to go and you're actually trying to progress and get better, it gets to a point that goes past what you already have, and your skills and your skill set and what you already know, and it goes beyond that point to where your body starts to burn, and to where you're not really sure of everything that you're doing, and you have to be able to push past that point and continue in order to grow and get better in whatever you're doing.
I like that. He said push past what you already know. And that takes me to a field of or a space in my mind where I remember I was working out once. I tried this 100-day challenge. This jump was crazy. First of all, I don't even like to work out. I really don't. But I consider myself to be pretty competitive. I consider myself to be pretty good at what I try. but working out is just not my thing whatsoever. But anyway, I took on this 100-day challenge to work out, and I remember I was getting it, I was doing all was well. I was like, oh, this is simple, I can do this every day. But when I got to that place, whether it was a sit up and a push up, a squat jump, y'all got too many names for these workouts. But anyhow, squat jumps, chair jumps, leg squat, whatever they call. Right. But anyhow, I got to the place in each and every one of those workouts where I was like, all right, it's burning now. I'm supposed to give up because it's burning. So I feel like I done did what I needed to do. So something should come out of this. And I remember my coach at this time, she was letting me know, like, no, we got 5 more. And I was like, 5 more? I can't even barely do a half of one more. And so, but as she was there, she was helping me get to the next few more that we had lined up in the set. And I was like, well, I didn't know I can do that. And I was so thankful that I had somebody to at that time, I thought, push me to that level. But I've come to find that when I didn't have her any longer, when it was time to go to that place, it took something more than what I had in me. So that's why, like you said, to get, when you give it something that you, when you're getting past that thing that you already have.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting because Chris said, in the beginning, you're kind of shadow boxing. Mm-hmm. You don't really feel the push until you get to that point past yourself. And it's like life, we go through life and we kind of shadow box, we kind of going through the drills. And you have people that they post things on Instagram, pushing through, grinding out here, we working hard, we pushing through. And that's the easy part. But
make it seem like it's so easy.
As soon as it comes it comes against something that goes against their everyday struggle or their everyday what's normal to them, that's when the push is important.
Right.
Because that's when you have to dig deep. And I think as people, that's when we stop. That's when we quit.
True.
Because we say we push. We say, I'm waking up, I'm grinding hard, I'm pushing for greatness. But you really don't understand the meaning of push until you're in that place where you can no longer rely on your natural resources, your natural ability, what you're good at. Because now you're stretching, you're hurting, you're in pain. You don't want to do it. You don't want to move.
And one thing that we don't like to be in pain. We don't like to hurt. We don't like suffering. We don't like anything that challenges the body, the mind, or the spirit.
Exactly. So the push, it doesn't look like I'm waking up every day and I'm doing what's normal. The push is not normal.
Yeah, it's not a habit.
It's not normal. Easing is normal. Smooth is normal. Shadow boxing, that's anything that is smooth, that's normal. But the push always entails resistance. Exactly. And that's what we don't want. So that's what we run from. So to get in that, to understand being pushed as people, you have to get out of a comfortable place. You have to get out of a normal place. But I know one thing, that when you allow yourself to be pushed, and when you do push, there's greatness that always comes out on the other side.
Agreed. And I like to reference the last episode. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. But it was called The Shift, and watch it to kind of help better understand this episode as well. But shifting your mindset into thinking of the push more working for you and not against you.
That's right.
Is key to overcoming as well. So whatever it is, whether it's fighting or, like you said, he's a tumble director, or just tumbling, or whatever you're doing.
Right.
Thinking of the outcome instead of what you're going through is key.
Right.
To continuing that push.
Right. I like how he brought back the last episode. That's so true, because a push is definitely it's also a mindset thing, like he was stating. Like, these things have to take place in our mind. And see, in our mind, we get so comfortable depending on others. We get so comfortable depending on, what we can offer and what we already have, that we skip the space where our mind is open to allow us to get past what we already have, or get past what we've already experienced. Exactly. If we're reaching for greatness, if we're desiring, a higher level, a new place, a new space, it's going to take a greater work. And in order to get there, we have to understand. And see, that's where the mind really triggers, because your mind will tell you you can't do it. Your mind will remind you that you're not strong enough, or you don't have what it takes, or you're not an MMA fighter, or you're not a life coach, or your mind will tell you all of these things that goes against your very next level, that challenge. And so you have to get to a place where you can cut that off and tell yourself, yes, I am greater, I am stronger, I am bigger, I am bolder. And when you say that, and when you begin to believe these things, I believe that episodes reminds us to get to a place where you believe it, know it to be so. You'll do things that you never thought you could do.
Right.
I remember helping my son. My son was trying to jump off the balcony once, y'all. The balcony's not that high, y'all. Don't get scared. But but still, I remember him being in a place where he was fearful to do it. And we kept saying, man, when I was little, I'd jump out of trees, I'd jump over benches, I'd do so and so and so. And I remember him building himself up in his mind. He would look at it and he'd be like, man, maybe I could do it, maybe not, maybe I could do it, maybe not. It was like, just go for it, just go for it. But my point in this is he had to work up in his mind where he was like, oh yeah, I can do this, man, I can do it. He looked at this, he examined himself, and he pushed past everything that was in his mind telling him that he couldn't, and he just did it. And believe it or not, he landed. Most people on the first try, you kind of fall or stumble a little. You gotta get the hang of it. But he landed, and he was like, oh wow, it made him believe that he has even a higher height than that. And so just throwing that out there, because like we said, it's a mindset thing. It's a thing that works within self, and it's something that we all have in us, but we're just so comfortable with depending on others.
Yeah, and understand, every time you have the desire to push, God gave us this thing. Every time that we have a desire to push, we're not just pushing just to push. You're always pushing a purpose.
Right.
If you have a desire to push or to go further or to work harder or the grind, that's what we call it, grind, that's push. There's always something that's going to be birthed from it. I know everybody, when you think of push, most of especially women, they think of birth. And they think you have to push. But in the midst of pushing, there's a purpose in you. So there's always a purpose to push out. So if you get to the place where you can push, and where you got to endure some pain, you have to endure some suffering, you have to endure some uncertainty. But if you can get to a place where you can push, if you can build up the courage where you can push, there's always a purpose that comes out of the push.
Right. I like that because like you said, even starting with the shadow boxing or the drills or whatever you're doing in the beginning, it's almost like it prepares you for the push. It doesn't do the push for you. That's right. Still have to push, but it prepares you for the push. And then after the push, whatever you obtain from the push, that prepares you for the next step. That's as well. Right. So the push is if you can get to the point where you can think of the push as a natural part of the process. That's in right. The journey.
That's right.
Instead of something that's happening to you in the moment.
That's right.
It's a lot easier to get over.
I like how you said also. Until you get to the push. When you start something, it's almost you like gravitate to it. That's you being pulled. You know what I mean? Like right, you're gravitating to it. It's fun. It's exciting. You want to get up and train and shadow box. But you're gonna get to that time, 100%. If you're working in any purpose, you're going to get to that time, in being pulled, that you're gonna stop. And then when that thing stops pulling you, if you don't have a push in your own, if you don't have a push in your own identity, that's when you're gonna want to give up.
Yeah, and that's where we just encourage you. We're encouraging you today, or whichever day you choose to listen to this cast. I said my tongue got so twisted. But we are encouraging you to not give up. The most important part of your push is to not give up. Don't throw in the towel, because you have something in you to get you to that next place. It's so easy to quit. It's so easy to quit, but what do you gain from quitting? What do you get from quitting? You work this hard not to gain nothing. You work this hard for results. The whole process, everything that you've done to work your way up to this point, don't let it be done in vain. So we encourage you to push forward. We encourage you to move forward in whatever it is that you may be struggling with. And we also just wanted to address that the push isn't only in a physical stance, but there's so many times that we struggle in our minds. We struggle with rejection. We struggle with the different things like my mind is going faint.
We struggle with a lot of things in life, man. We struggle with spiritual things. We struggle with emotional things. We struggle with financial things. And the push is still relevant in every point and part of life, because we look for a pull. As long as our friends, you can do it, that's our pull, we can go. And then as soon as something happens in life where we're no longer feel like we're being pulled, then like I said, we stop. So we have to find it deep in ourselves. as a tumbling, y'all are silly, y'all crazy, y'all funny.
There it goes. There it goes. I just got my train of thought back. But I was saying the enemy is tricky, y'all. I'm trying to tell you, he literally just snatched that whole thought. But I was saying yeah, we struggle with rejection, and we struggle with things like anxiety and depression. And these are two of the biggest things that I've had to cross in my life. And when I finally was able to recognize push, I was able to go back in my life and identify the different areas where I may have been being pulled through situations instead of digging deep and pushing through situations. The reason why anxiety was so big in my life and it was hard for me to really identify is because I was at a place where people were helping me work my way through it, and to the which it was good. It was a good start, but then when the people weren't around anymore, it became big. It became noticeable. It became something where I felt like I was about to drown. I was about to lose it all because I couldn't tell reality from what was fake. I couldn't kind of grab hold. And then when I did, it was easy to get to that place of give up and sink into anxiety instead of push through anxiety. And what I mean by that, for those of us who are out there, those of you who are out there who do suffer from anxiety, what I mean by that is not giving in to those false thoughts that are filling you, telling you that, it's the situation is one thing when your reality is completely different. When I'm saying not fold or bow down to that thing, because when you do, then you have to get to a place where now you're stuck on meds, or you're stuck in this place feeling like there's a problem or an issue with you. And that just lines up to so many different areas in your life that triggers the wrong emotions, and it begins to birth something far away than who you really are. It begins to kind of play with your purpose, and that's not what we desire here. The word tells us, one of the most famous scriptures out there talks about how the Lord has in his plans for us to prosper. And when we're stuck in these places in our minds due to anxiety and depression, we feel like we will never hit or reach the place of prosperity. And so it's important that we dig deep, even within our minds, even within our daily struggles, the things that are mentally, the things that are spiritually, the things that are physically, and we find that push in all areas.
Right. It's very important to note that after you push through something, whenever you're pushing, you're not just pushing to beat whatever you're doing in the moment as well. Whenever you get at the end of that thing, there's a growth in you as well, and there's something that you realize that you had more than you thought you had as well. So it's not like you win, you finish the push and you get past you finish the run, you finish the fight, or you finish whatever it was, and you're like, oh it's done. No, it's like, it's more so like it helps you to realize that there was something in you. It awakens something that was in you already, and prepares you for the next step as well.
Right.
It's crazy because we never realize, most of us has never been pushed. We as we talk about this, if you really be honest with yourself, most of us never been pushed. We always stayed on the side shadow boxing. We've only done what the coach said do. The coach said, hey, give me 10 push-ups every night. Most of us don't do 20. Most of us do 10. And so we've always lived in this comfortable place where we really don't get the best out of ourselves. So everything we do is always mediocre. It's never what God intended it to be, because we only allow ourselves to be pulled. And when we're not pulled, we're going off of adrenaline of being pulled. We're going off with the gravity of being pulled. You know how somebody pull on you for a long time and they stop pulling you, you can kind of still for yourself, gravitating towards them. I think that's what we go off of. But the push doesn't kick in until later. And the scary thing about that is sometimes our push kicks in so late that the purpose is not as impactful as it would have been if we would have pushed in the time to push, if that makes sense.
Right. I see where you're going with that. And I wanted to add to that, like, don't give up in the wait. Because some of us, like he said, some of us will push and we expect the trophy right away. We expect like, oh yeah, now we hit the finish ground, but that's not it. Sometimes when we push and and we get to that next place, or we push ourselves, like you were saying, the coach say do 10 push-ups, you give those 10 push-ups, you never reach to do 20, or you never reach to do 12, you never reach to do that one more. Sometimes when you do, sometimes we expect automatically to have this golden reward, this golden ticket, but sometimes there's a wait that will take place, and you won't really see the results until a little bit after that. But that's why it's important to not give up until you feel the difference. Don't give up until you see the difference. Even when you've pushed past and you get that first win, that first breath of relief, like, whoo, I did it. Don't give up there.
Right. Exactly, because a lot of people like to dictate how much time it's going to take.
That's right.
And like the Bible says, it says, don't grow weary in doing good, for in due time you're going to reap what you harvest. It said, if you don't give up. If you don't give up. And I think it's important that it said if and not when, because that it puts it on you.
That's
exactly.
Right.
You know, so if you don't give up during the time, you cannot dictate when. You can't say, well, it's been a day, or it's been a week, or it's been this and I haven't lost weight.
Exactly.
Or it's been this and I'm still dealing with this anxiety, or it's been this and I still been and whatever the situation is. Like you said, know in the wait, and know to be patient and continue to push during that time, because those are the most important times right there, where you want to give up in that wait process as you're pushing.
That's when your push is being activated.
That's
exactly.
Right. No one starts pushing and know how long they're gonna be pushing.
Exactly.
Right.
You just start pushing, hoping for a result. And sometimes the crazy thing about it, sometimes we're pushing, the thing is not moving when we first put our hands
right.
in it. You know, and then we dig our feet into the sand, and then we start pushing it hard, and sometimes it's still not moving. And right before you give up, sometimes you're like, and we'll put all our strength in it. And then, like you said, we'll find some strength from somewhere that we know we have. And then we use our shoulder with it. And then this thing start moving. And once this thing start moving, we use our other shoulder and our other legs. And then we find parts of our body that we could have pushed with that we never knew we could have pushed with, just by that initial start. So as you push, I'm sure Chris mentioned this earlier. He said it different, but as you push, you get stronger.
Right.
And your confidence grows, and your purpose even grows, and everything around you grows. And so the push is something else. The push catapults you, and it catapults people around you, and it catapults your purpose. It catapults your gifts. It catapults the people that's in your corner. It takes you to a whole nother level, a whole nother dimension.
Right. And aside from making you stronger as you go, like you said, you start to push and you begin to move it, and you start to do certain things to be able to move it more. If you've ever lift weights or use like the leg press machine, you know, you start to push it and it stops for a second because you didn't get, and then you finally push it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
then even though you don't, it doesn't begin to give you strength until over time,
That's
right?
Yeah.
But even though you did it that one time, if you stop for a second and then do it again, you notice how it's a little bit easier.
That's right.
Because now that you've actually pushed it, you realize that you can do it.
You can do it.
There's something that was in you already that you can do it. And so instead of easing into the push, you go 100%.
That's right. And it taps into that place automatically.
Right.
So now it's easier, like you said, it's easier to be successful now. You know, it's easier to get up and do what I'm supposed to do now. It's easier to be a boss. You know, it's easier now because I endured the push. You know, I did it. You know, so
That's
we got to
right.
get to that point.
So y'all, we just we thank you again for tuning in to Circle Up with Chris Hurd and Zach Hurd.
Yes,
Y'all see him on the street. Y'all remember that. And yes, it's been a really, really, really awesome cast. We hope that you all gained and learned how to activate your push. Once again, the most important part of your push is that you don't give up. Keep going. You're almost there. Be blessed.
Be blessed.